Excellent, thank you. Neil made me feel at home there with images of Glasgow city centre, so thanks for that. I've been challenged to deliver this presentation in 20 minutes rather than half an hour, so we'll certainly run through these fairly quickly. I've only got 340 slides. I'm Michael Hoenigmann. I'm the Managing Director and owner of Jupiter Play. We've been around 25 years next year. We work in the play sector, and I'm really going to try and, I suppose, communicate how important that is and the connection that makes for the health and well-being agenda, really, because it kind of always starts with the child. We work with a number of different suppliers in the UK, so we don't manufacture anything. We have a global partner program, and it gives us access to a lot of information, not just product, but research from really across the globe, which is great. So we're going to look at these 5 topics today. Procurement for me is a massive issue. I think that we have playgrounds now which are really being dumbed down, and they're not as good as they could be. We have a process that can change that and can make that happen. We're going to look at natural play and the benefits to health and environment. We're going to look at active spaces for the whole community and what that means, and increasing activity with technology in spaces. And I would like you really to take 3 key things from today's presentation. Maybe think about these as we go through, is the importance of giving every child the best possible start in life. You know, thinking about how to procure. Is there a better way, and how can we use technology to encourage people to be more active? So the challenges that we have really is current practice in our sector is very tender-based. It's very procurement-led, a lot of frameworks around. And often you go through this process and you're given 4 to 6 weeks to deliver a playground that's supposed to be there for 15, 20 years and offer a real community benefit. So we think the tender periods are far too short. No one knows what the community wants because no one's bothered asking them in a lot of these cases. And there's no opportunity really to discuss ideas, solutions, innovation within here. Often you're given these 4 weeks, and any questions you have to ask through the portal, and there's no engagement at all. And certainly I think the outcomes for children, rarely does it mention in the tender document any outcome for the child. It rarely mentions how important it is for fundamental movement skills, for example. There, rarely do you see that. Mostly it's about maintenance. How much is it going to cost to maintain? And it's really about dumbing down things. And what our industry has done really is that in a tender process, they've taken all the fun bits out of the equipment. They've taken all the bits that are really important for the child out because it looks better and it looks like you've got more equipment. And I would ask that what of any value was designed in 3 to 4 weeks. It's really given us an ability to innovate, and everybody looks at a design which we have to produce these pretty pictures that people then say, oh, how many pieces of equipment has it got? But it's not really addressing the issues. And I'm just going to show some images quickly of what that looks like from a tender process to using a more collaborative approach and actually talking through things. And I think if I was a child, I think the areas that I would like to play in certainly would be on the right-hand side of these images. So how can we do this better? I've used a case study at Poole Park in Dorset to really highlight this, and have a short video from the client discussing the process, and then I'll go into a little bit more detail on this.
Hi, I'm Martin Whitchurch, Open Spaces Development Manager for BCP Council, opening the new play area in Poole Park. So for this project, in delivering the 2 play areas in Poole Park, we used a slightly alternative procurement method. So instead of a 6-week tender window where we'd be asking the play suppliers to actually design the new facilities within that 6 weeks, we evaluated and awarded the tender just purely based on concepts and what the process would be for design. So I think the value that this type of contract has brought to us and the way we've worked with Jupiter Play has really allowed us to kind of get into the design detail with a lot of time to do that and really consider the unique properties of each site, both play areas, and kind of the intricacies around levels and kind of shade and trees and kind of the design that we wanted to get out of it, the theming, just a colour palette and all of that sort of detail. The site behind me really flows. You can see that there's a kind of the use of the site is really organic and natural. You've got dwell spaces for people to gather and just watch. And I'm not sure you necessarily get all of that detail done as well as that if you did it through a normal tender process. So certainly on larger sites like these, with the higher value projects, we'd certainly be looking to replicate this process again. It doesn't create more work, doesn't add any more time. It's just a better process. So I think definitely would be recommending that for the future.
Okay, so we follow the RIBA design stages, which is the Royal Institute of British Architecture. So looking at the different ways to develop a project from idea through to completion. And I'm short of time, so I won't talk through these. I won't talk through these slides, but it shows you how the project really developed. As far as from an idea and some shape and form and materials into the site that it became. And this took a bit longer, of course, but the outcome is beautiful and it's really loved by the communities. And the next section we're going to talk about natural play and how that really impacts on the health and the environment. And I think we all know this, and I think this was really highlighted through COVID when we had that hour of time to spend outdoors. We all visited places that probably we'd never even knew that were on our doorstep in these natural places. So there's lots of benefits from being in nature, and I should think some of the presentations this afternoon talk a little bit about that in more detail. But for kids, often they're deprived of this. Often they're not get the opportunity to experience natural environments in such a way as we do. And these are just some of the images of our staff and some of the activities that they took on during lockdown. And I think it was really to get them to think about their natural environment and having a love of that natural environment. So yeah, local authorities talked about that huge increase of the use of parks and other green spaces within their communities. And these are just some of the statistics that we're taking, really thinking about, do they appreciate the local park? So I think there's a real opportunity for the parks sector, to play a much more important part in health and well-being moving forward. And we're also seeing climate change being an issue, and this is an area where really exploring the use of planting and drainage within play spaces. And I think going back to the slides previously on the left-hand side, they were really sterile environments, but we can make playgrounds much more interesting with a real benefit to the communities, the environment, and climate change as well. And these are just some examples of how that could be put into practice. I think Mind are here also, so we've taken some of their kind of details on engagement with nature and the benefits that they have. Our next section really looks at the creating spaces for active spaces for the whole community, and really looking at the opportunity that open spaces have to really engage different parts of our communities. And these are quite interesting, the statistics here. 1 in 3 men and 1 in 2 women are not active enough for good health. So I'm not going to, you're in this sector, so you understand a lot of this. So I'm not going to preach to the converted here. But we did talk a little bit earlier, and Sport England talked a little bit about inclusion and disabilities. And that really struck me that I've got 2 teenage kids, so I know bringing up a child is expensive, but bringing up a disabled child can be 3 times more expensive. And that was something that really stuck out for me. And the opportunities that they get are really important. And it's really important that we can give the opportunities that they need, where they need them. And that's often in parks and open spaces local to them. We also experienced, through COVID-19, it really emphasised the unequal access there was across the country to good quality open spaces. And I think the BAME community really suffer in that respect as well. So we really need to think about who we're accessing as far as parks is concerned. And we've got to think about the older generations too. And I think that connection, and this is often been done in Scandinavia in particular, where they're joining nursery schools and old people's homes together, so that actually they can play and engage together. And I think that's that's tremendous there. But we've got an ageing population, and we've got to be thinking about the well-being from everybody visiting our parks. And there's a great case study from one of our suppliers in the Netherlands, where they put an interactive play arch into a number of settings, care home settings, and it really they set the music all to older 50s, 60s, 40s music, and that allowed people to start thinking and reminiscing about things. So it had the advantage of getting the residents active, but also it was a real interesting thing for grandchildren, great-grandchildren that came along to have somewhere that they could engage together, which was really interesting. How am I doing? Am I okay for time? I'm in a final section, we're talking about technology and play, and that's been mentioned a couple of times today, and I think this is really interesting. So one of my sections was on nature and technology, and how do they go together, because we want to get kids much more out in the natural environment. But the juxtaposition that we're not going to get them off their phones, we're not going to get them away from technology, so let's embrace that. Have a short video.
At Yelp, we wanted to design something positive for youngsters. They are very much into music and expressing their identity. We looked at different types of sports and we thought it could be more fun. What we did is took the interactive gaming world and the outdoor play and combined those two to bring something positive to youngsters.
So it's not all swings and roundabouts. So. Okay, and there is a real issue, particularly with teenagers and trying to engage teenagers into play, particularly teenage girls. And this is an area that we're going to address in a bit more detail at the Y Sport conference coming up. But these interactive products are really interesting in the way that they connect. So they're not just electronic products. They gauge the ability of the user, and they adapt to the ability of the user. So it really keeps that engagement. And the 5 design principles of them are to be fun, most of all, to be smart, so you can change them and you can develop new games, built for the outdoors, creating healthy, active lifestyles, and being creative and being different. So that's the kind of principles around it. And really the technology is hidden. Generally, it's a one-button push to be able to activate this. There is a game store, which has a number of different games, and you can create competitive communities on your own. I've got a few case studies just to look at this. This was really interesting. It's a fairly local school to us. This was the park near them. And they took the primary school out to the site. They did their maths lessons on this piece of play equipment, which was really interesting. And they said the behaviour of the kids when they went back was exemplary because they'd let off so much steam. So that's really interesting way to use this. And we can show the statistics. And I think that's like gold dust, particularly to local authorities, to be able to evidence the success of projects. So we can show how that's done. This was a pilot, Lowfield Park, was a pilot project we did with Sport England and the FA, which is still being evaluated, really. But the statistics there the play statistics were amazing. We've got a large play area in Cantley Park, which is in Wokingham, where these were being played pretty much all the time that they were switched on. And we've just delivered a big project for Butlins, where the interactives are being used. I mean, it's just off the scale from when they open until they close. They're actually being used all the time. So there's technology that we can put into playgrounds to really encourage that physical activity. And my final slide is that new for 2024, we're looking at how can we get equipment into spaces to make them more active. So we've looked at the muggers, the ball courts, and thinking about how do we break up that space first of all. So we're looking at a solution that will be a little bit different, but we want to have equipment placed on the areas where people are more likely to use it. So this is not just about sports, it's about games, it's about fun, it's just about activity. So yeah, I hope I've been able to get through these 3 key messages. And it's a little bit different topic, I think, for you today, but I hope you found that interesting and fast.